Oh, look at all these weapon changes, so many improvements and buffs, and I can't wait to see what they're doing about bow being one of the weaker weapons in the game. Oh.
Well, that's not gonna stop me destroying the 9-star monsters.
Hello, my fellow hunters, and today, my fellow pluckers of strings bow, and send arrows forward into foe. And thanks to the new endgame Talisman 9-star update/system, well, our arrows will fly faster than ever. Imagine if there was actually like a speed stat on the bow, and you could like have a diversity of like short bow or long bow. I guess like a light bowgun, heavy bowgun situation for a more meaty sort of dragon piercer-esque great bow, and then maybe like a more agile little bow that's more plinky. Anyway, that completely unrelated aside, though, you know, we have ourselves an entire new talisman system to play with, and therefore new builds to craft accordingly. And when it comes to bow, we actually get a really nice bump, primarily because bow gets to just sit at 230 raw thanks to its artian, because we don't care about sharpness, so any raw multipliers are inherently going to be just that little bit more potent than those running 220s or 225s. There's other stuff going on as well, but we will get to it. Other than that, I have been thoroughly enjoying having these 9-star monster hunts. Bow is just so satisfying to use against anything. It just always feels so slick to essentially never get hit and rain down arrow after arrow. It is then a shame that generally across the kind of speedrun timings and rankings that we've been researching and doing, bow tends to slip towards the bottom half, closer to the literal bottom a lot of the time. And with how strong lance has just gotten, it might actually overtake. Oh my god. Oh, damn you, all four of you! In any case, I really do hope that bow does get its time to have a little bit of a tune in Title Update 3 or a future update. Honestly, I would just take reverting the nerf to Dragon Piercer, because pure Dragon Piercer was one of my favorite things to ever happen as a main way to play. We've always loved just Dragon Piercer as a sort of off-meta-y build for the funsies, but having it be the main focus for a while was a real joy. Though having 1,000 dragons to weave in properly now is great too, but everything just needs a little bit more damage. Thankfully though, we are getting a little bit more damage, as I said, with our new options. So let's get into them. Talismans-wise, what are we looking for? Well, anything truly better than the classic 2 agitator or 2 weakness exploit or 2 adrenaline rush is going to improve the previous best sets from a post-title update 2 and post-arch-tempered duna world. So for example, at a minimum, this kinda bad, let's be honest, rare 5 talisman is still technically better on any build that uses a 2 agi or 2 wex or 2 adrenaline rush talisman, because you get those 2 ranks like you would expect, and then an extra skill. Obviously, Horn Maestro is useless to our purposes, but I just want to show that you can very easily find something that will make things better. So I will, of course, do these builds assuming the ideal talisman, but I just want to put across that it's not hard to beat what is currently being used in the current best builds I showed you last time, which is to say your 2 agitator, 2 weakness exploit. All you need is to be at least able to get that plus something else, and you've got it beat. But in the cases of the very best and what we'll be working with, well, you can beat it in a much, much bigger way. Now, I know this talisman is absolutely disgusting, though I have already seen people with better, but this is your ideal, at least when it comes to pure offensive gain. You want 3 ranks of attack boost, and then 1 rank of either agitator, adrenaline rush, burst, or weakness exploit. All of them are roughly even, though when we get to the individual builds, I'll tell you which of the 4 is ideal, but in the general sense, you are looking to fully push your bow builds to as much as they can go thanks to this update. 3 attack boost and then 1 3-slot armor offensive skill. Now this could have a couple extra 1-slot armor decorations too for more utility, but sadly mine did not roll that. But I don't again want to cause this sort of despair situation, so here's another better example. Thunder attack 3, agitator 1, and then an armor slot. This is only a rare 7, and this would still be an improvement over crafted talismans on all the builds I'm showing you. Obviously, common sense applies. Don't put thunder attack if you're using the fire or water artian bow. This would be better for the high vault sender, the Talismans Bow, for when you're running thunder weak monsters. But imagine that this said fire attack 3, agitator 1. Well, I'm losing 1 agitator compared to the 2 agitator charm, but then I can come up here to my artian and just straight up get rid of the fire attack decoration, which then lets me put in, for example, the last couple ranks of critical boost, which is another near 6% damage increase, which would overall beat your regular crafted talismans. So that's kind of the way you gotta think about it. There are lots of ways to improve, and again, I will be showing you sort of what we currently understand to be peak, and then you can sort of work back based on your collection. So with that all said then, let's get into your sort of best overall bow build for your normal player playing normally. Here we are. You've got your Seregios helmet, Legircus chest and gloves, gore magala waist and legs, all beta. A nice little combination of 3 very fun, challenging monsters, so that scratches a certain satisfying itch too. In any case, that gets us out the box with your gore magala 2 set, which we'll be leveraging for 25% affinity, and your Leviathan's Fury from Legircus for another little bit of affinity, and a few splashes of thunder, though it's not here because we desperately want it, it's just how it's worked out. And then we get a nice little beginning of a couple weakness exploits, your adrenaline rush, and the agitator from the talisman. So when this gets decorated up, it looks like so. We fill the weakness exploit, we get ourselves a constitution full 2, we already have that lovely stamina surge, counter strike goes in as well, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and then the antivirus and 1 rank of burst, just to get the huge value that 1 rank of burst is. We put an attack decoration into the talisman, which results in attack 4, which results in that % raw increase of base, which is really, really tasty. So this gives us a really nice rounded set of skills. It's also incredibly comfy because we have that 5 constitution and 3 stamina surge built in. That means you can eat feasts, you don't have to eat mushrooms for the fake ranks of constitution, which gives you more raw and defense from the actual feast, which is ideally what we always want to be doing. So everything just feels very nice with this in play, and you're going to have a very comfortable time without giving up on damage. Seriously, 476 EFR here, which is incredibly tasty. To put that in perspective, our best builds last time around topped out at the 459 mark. So this is a fairly chunky increase, and that's really, really good to see. The power of essentially just gaining 4 ranks of attack for only the cost of, let's say, 1 agi is quite evident. It's incredibly valuable. So yeah, this works just lovelily. Now I will say this 1 rank of agitator could easily just be an extra rank of adrenaline rush for +5 raw, and then you don't have just a single floating point of agitator. They're very equivalent power-wise. 1 rank of agi is like 2% average affinity and 3 average raw. It's very, very close. Hell, even 1 more burst wouldn't be that far out either. Honestly, you can't really go wrong with what this 1 rank of skill is, and I just kind of like cleaner looking skill list, but it is what it is. In any case, if you do have extra 1 slots, you can put something in like Recovery Up or Divine Blessing, get that little bit of utility too. So this is sort of your standard experience then, and to quickly go over your weapons, well, not much has changed there. We're still wanting to have our Artian, either fire or water, as they have your close range coating, which is very, very important for that 40% damage increase, and you want full attack boost for that 230 base raw. If a monster is weakest to fire, obviously bring the fire Artian. If it's weakest to water, bring the water Artian. Except for if it's weakest to thunder, in which case the Legiacris High Vault Sender is the way to go, as it is potent enough to be worth it, and then in that case you want to put any spare 1 slots, if the talisman had them for example, as Thunder Resist to convert Thunder Resistance and amp up your Thunder element. The decorations wise remain as such. Of course the blaze here would be for water attack in the water Artian, and you can't fit it in the Vault Sender. Now there is technically a 4th category of weapon to talk about, but we will get to that. But generally speaking, that's your bow choices. Weakest to thunder, then use the Vault Sender. If not, use whichever between fire and water it's weakest to in the form of the Artian. Then brings us to, well, this. The most damaging pure DPS, I just want to hit as hard as I can, bow build. Note then that this is going to have less constitution and less stamina surge, so it's a lot less comfy. I wouldn't play this in a group, and you have to be confident with your discerning dodges to be the reason that you keep your stamina up. You also can very much eat your mushroom meals and ignore feasts with this, and get those fake ranks of constitution. But essentially, this is your option if all you want is the purely highest damage output build, and you can deal with having less stamina skills. So you still want the same kind of talisman ethos that I've been talking about, and then it's Mizutsune legs, your gore magala waist, but notably it's alpha, then Seregios gloves beta, your Zoshia chest beta, and gore magala helm beta. This then, when decorated up, looks a little something like so. First thing to point out is I somehow actually don't own 5 weakness exploit decorations, so this really is kind of awkward, but this should be weakness exploit 5. Imagine it's weakness exploit 5. In any case, outside of that then, we have that 5 Wex, we have the 3 agitator, your 3 antivirus, your 2 adrenaline rush, and your 2 burst, which is really, really nice, and a bonus rank of coalescence, which is also really nice because that will come into play. The element damage isn't insignificant, even though we focus on raw on the Artian rolls and such, and then we gain that extra cheeky 4 attack on top of the usual spread shots, your element attack up and your critical boost. So all in all, this just pumps offensive numbers, but we do give up notably that full stamina surge and a bit of constitution. Now, if your talisman was lucky enough to have those 2 extra 1 slots that it can have, then you can finish constitution, which means that you can then have a feast, which means that you don't actually lose out there compared to the other set. That is notably a big deal. 5 constitution is more important than 3 stamina surge, so you do have that potential here with a truly god roll talisman. So if you did, this does become a lot more attractive. However, the elephant in the room is going to be Counter-Strike. Of course, on the maths of the last set, I had it at about 50% uptime. I think on bow, with how much you discerning dodge and such, that's about right. You get hit less than other weapons, but you still will if you're not a speedrunner. We're all mortal hunters. Whereas this doesn't have Counter-Strike. So the maths on this end up shaking out at 472 EFR. Now note, the previous set was 476. And comfier, so you may be like, well, why would I not just want to play that then? But that was with Counter-Strike, and Counter-Strike is a big inflator of EFR. Obviously, 100% uptime Counter-Strike is plus 25 raw, and that's brilliant, but that's not realistic, which is why I did it at 50% for bow. So in the world where you are a bow god, and you discerning dodge everything, and you hardly ever get hit, or at least get hit less than the requirement for at least 50% uptime on Counter-Strike, then this is the set for you. It will have the most average higher damage output compared to the previous one. So essentially, yeah, this is what I would call your sort of speedrunner mentality set, where you don't plan on getting hit, and you're great at your dodges, and you just want to kill things as fast as possible. And then the previous set is your humble, accept you are but a mortal man, and want to just have a nice comfy time doing the best you can, but still having a lot of damage to show for it. So the choice, as they say, is yours. Which kind of brings us to the end then. These really are the two most solid options, and something to really get excited about because they are big jumps in power from Title Update 2 and Arch-Tempered Duna. Now, I will show you this, which is something that you can use against any predominantly Dragon Weak monsters like your Rathalos, your Guardian Rathalos, etc. You want to use the Arkveld bow to get that dragon element. You decorate it up like so, and the reason I'm talking about this is thanks to the new talisman system, we don't actually need to use any of the arkveld pieces to get a cheeky rank of convert to element, which is a nice sizable damage increase in your dragon weak hunts. So if you do have a talisman like this and you want to really min-max, well, get a dragon bow on, use this talisman, the set remains the same as the comfy set, and enjoy that one rank of convert element. It's something to think about. So there we are then, your bows in the new world of RNG talisman goodness and 9-star monsters. Let me know how you're getting on facing them, how you're feeling with the bow, and your best talisman pull so far. For now then, I will see you in Title Update 3 for more Bowie goodness, or indeed perhaps sooner with some fun little side grady other ways of playing that I want to explore. But in any case, like you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.